Welcome to the channel. This is Reliable Rudy here for the second live stream of the day. We're going to recap some of the trades that we took today and go over the Intel sticky note. Before we go into any details, you guys know I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Simply just sharing my opinion here and going over some of the setups that I kind of like to trade. So just sharing my opinion. Make sure the volume is good. It looks like volume's good. And yeah, so let's go. So Nasdaq, a little bit of a recap today. Kind of gave up the ghost a little bit, but all in all, still holding very good strength. You guys know I've talked about this gap fill that we are approaching day by day. Starting the wick up towards it a little bit. Does that have any weight or any meaning to it? I'm not quite sure yet, but yeah, we'll see. We're going to monitor it around that gap fill, and also why do we like that gap? It's because it's right around the 702 as well. I should have both of those marked. But that's just kind of keeping that on watch. I actually just got an alert on MMV. I don't even remember putting this alert out there, so let's go take a look at this. And yeah, kind of broke this downtrend that we had. I probably had an alert right over top of these wicks, putting a green engulfing right through that as well. I can see we're also getting a little bit of volume increase right there. Can it get over 225? Maybe. Let's go take a look at the daily. Let's clear out the drawings. And yeah, so this is day 2 of the initial move. Does it have any weight to continue moving forward? I'd like to see it trade around sort of a level. So if I was just marking out some levels right in there, I could also go and mark this previous low and the previous top, which is kind of what's holding right now. So that's, just a quick way of how I like to identify some levels. I can see it's also trying to hold above this previous low, where I could mark the top end of this, which kind of meets in around this bottom as well. So I'd want to see a price get over top of some of these levels, but keeping it on watch. MMV up 9% on the day. Can this build into some sort of U shape? Is this downward move done where we can start focusing more on the retracement aspect of things? And I can see holding some retracement levels, action on both sides of it, resistance and support. So yeah, we'll keep that on watch. We'll throw an alert on this for the stream, and we'll put that alert back in at 226. So going into some trades today, early in the day we were talking about NVAX and kind of giving up the ghost a little bit. When we ended the stream, we were down here on this 7-8. We respected 8 flat, had a few outs above this level. Can it hold this uptrend? I'm not quite sure. We talked about a 820 break over top of this wick right there. So call it like an 822. We wick up to that 820. I think we had a print at 818 as it was kind of right in at this wick top. We got the fill. Can it hold this range? Looking at the daily, I mentioned this is going to be one that I'm interested in holding into the close. But we still have a little bit of time left. It is a green position, but nothing really worth bragging about by any means. We'll keep this one on watch. Really close, holding above positive strength. I'd want to see a little bit more volume and some price action to the upside. I'd really love for it to close above 8. That would give me a little more confidence to hold that into the close. CXAI, kind of that same similar setup. Gave up the ghost a little bit, and I'll show you where we were watching. I was really interested around this 1150. Would have had some good scalps to the upside, and I'd be holding it against me right now. So I think this is going to be a play worth watching tomorrow, maybe. If it is a retracement, kind of respecting some levels, a little bit of a false break of that half, which meets up at a 1250 even. But yeah, that is one that is going to be kept on watch. AI, we did have a top print. We respected the gap fill as we talked about. We had a print as we were approaching it as well. I think that was around 34 flat. We just took a little piece off. We were looking for a reload back in off of this previous level. Obviously, we didn't fall back in far enough for a reload. And we had a couple more prints. I think we're going to hold this one into the close. I like the setup on it. If it closes above 34, I think we can get a further move to the upside where I would be looking for this gap fill right around 40 flat. So from current price, I think there is another 17-16% move to the upside worthy possible. So holding a piece of that, this was one we were talking about it, right? We identified this previous low. We put an alert. That alert triggered us. We watched a couple candles. We took a position in this candle and this candle, and we just watched it kind of turn to the upside. So that was a good example of kind of what I'm looking for in terms of a position. The Carl Icon Fund, this was another live trade that we took. We said that we liked this little bit of volume increase, even though it had this wick top with increased red volume. We liked this previous high where we respected it in this candle and then added to it and put our stop in underneath of this 35. We put it in 22.35. It held. Now, not every time you're going to get lucky like that with a stop, but for the stop to hold, that's kind of like some sort of confirmation for me that, okay, I identified a decent stop level that held, and we went from there. We had a couple outs on this upside move, and we're trying to hold a piece of this into the close as it's continuing to hold this longer term uptrend. This uptrend, if we go back and look at it, a lot of action right there, even a wick bottom right there that holds. Now, when we were trading this last week, we had this uptrend more so set like this. We cut out of this at the break of this low candle, and we entered back in at a higher price. This is just kind of okay. Let the chart present you kind of a better entry, or not necessarily say a better entry, but see a little bit more information on your trade. So even though I averaged in a little bit higher, we had a couple outs to the upside, and the position is working for us. Is it going to give up the ghost a little bit? I just want to see it hold some levels. So above my entry is what I want to see, and we will think about holding this into the close. AI kind of giving up this 34. I can think about just taking a winning trade on this if I wanted to, but I really want to try and hold this into the close. So let's set an alert to the downside. If this gives up 34s, we're going to come back and look at this and see if it's something that we, let's go take a look at our alerts. We have an active alert on TMBR. We set that in the early of the day, so let's take that one off and put this alert right underneath this. Let's go take a look at TMBR. Now that we took that alert off, we thought, hey, this could be a descending channel. It's just getting a lot of sideways chop action. That alert might actually be worth it. So let's go see what other, we have a CDIO. Let's go take a look at that and see if it's worth. CDIO alert. And yeah, there's no chance that this is light volume, a lot of chop. Looking at the daily, I'll show you why we put an alert in this range. It's just kind of, if it caught a bid, we wanted to be alerted around this 150 break. So let's take this alert off and let's go throw that TMBR alert back in there. Just in case this one wants to present some sort of trade. Let's put that alert at a 216, so pretty close, and we'll see if that alerts us on the way. So moving forward, that was the IEP, kind of giving up some levels that I would like to see hold, like this previous top around 23 flat. Is there some sort of uptrend build like that can still hold? Possible. Let's see what other alerts we got active. We have a BuzzFeed. Let's go take a look at that. BZFD. BZFD. And yeah, obviously clear rejected. Gap down, fills the gap, tries to, gets rejected. Never gave me the break over this. So let's take that off and let's go and put that alert back in for IEP. And let's just put this alert underneath this uptrend in some way, shape, or form. So I want to watch it act with this previous high. So let's go in at 2290 and see if that hits anything right there. The NVAX kind of giving up the ghost a little bit. But we're going to give it just a little bit more time. Like I said, we did take some profits on this. This could be some sort of uptrend that wants to hold. But ultimately, why we want to try and hold a piece of this is because we are flirting around that middle. And this is potentially a nice bull flag where we could get a gap up over this 820 tomorrow. It's possible. It also could gap down on us. So I want to try and hold a piece of that into the close if possible. But I don't know if we're gonna be that fortunate. Let's just go ahead and put a stop loss in at this 780 and see how that works. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Invex. We'll go 780. If that stops us out, then maybe we can think about re-entering that at some point tomorrow. I'm risking $4 from the entries that I had, and yeah, we'll see where that goes. So another notable trade that we took, and this was against some advice that I had from a fellow trader, where he said the catalyst is shit. You know, sometimes the catalyst can be shit, and still more people want to buy than sell. Uh, that is short-term trading for you in a nutshell. Sometimes what happens is not what you think is going to happen. But we officially got stopped out at a 319. I adjusted this stop many times, and clearly good stop. But we had a 76 print and we had a 76 reload. We had a couple outs in front of 3, and we were able to get this printed up to the top. And our best print was a 340. I'd love to sit here and tell you I got like a 345 or right at that 350, but I didn't. Sometimes that's just the way that it works out. So that's kind of what I was looking at with this. I would say that this is probably done. I don't think this has a chance of holding this uptrend. And there is a lot of downside. So we're going to take off all of this. And yeah, a lot of indecision in this candle. And I would say the true support I'd even want to think about is more of like a 180. So I'm already telling myself that, hey, this could have like another 35% move to the downside. Let's be careful with that. So Invex, it is giving up the ghost here a little bit. I think this is going to end up being stopped out for a losing trade. But, you know, that's part of the game sometimes. I'm going to stay true to that stop. And if somehow this wants to hold right here, I'm all for it. If it stops me out, hey, it stops me out. So Intel, let's go over to the sticky note for today. We can pull this over. We talked about, now I'm really not sure where this is at. We did have a fill at 30 flat, just added to the position a little bit. Day 3 of the bull flag has strength, broke the descending channel to the upside, has some levels 30, 50 to 30, solid entry, my opinion. So let's go take a look at Intel. That was the only sticky note that we had for today. And sometimes it's a little bit tough. So you can see this 30 is giving up a little bit, and it's kind of even breaking further downside with this channel that we had set. So maybe let's just give it like that. And you know, it is leaving a couple wicks. This is the wick that we bought. 30 flat, triggered us. You know, there was some buyers there. Can it hold it this time and start giving me a curl? It's still going to have to fight through these 25s. So just because it catches a bid off 30, theoretically, let's say that, doesn't mean that this is out of the woods yet. It's still going to have some resistance that's going to have to fight right here. But looking over to the daily chart, we'll clear our chart out again. Here's our day 3. So we're looking at just 30 to hold. If 30 can hold and we open above it tomorrow, you know, it's going to have to work through this red move to the downside. But I think it's a all right setup. Like making the sticky note early in the day, obviously, I wouldn't have expected this type of candle to come in with the Nasdaq being green. You know, you had some chip names that were still holding all right. Just not how I anticipated this to kind of play out. I would have expected a better wick off of this previous high around that 30-30. And now we're kind of resting off of the top of this green candle. So it has a little bit there, but I would just be careful with the size that you have. This could easily start turning down, and the descending channel I was kind of talking about, this kind of shows it a little bit better. Or there's sort of your descending channel right there. Who knows? We can. It still has some support here at 29.70. I'm building these shares along. Obviously, strength up at these 120s. Now we're only sitting at strength at 62. So as we approach closer to that middle ground and we're below our EMAs, does it look like a short at that point? I'm not really sure. But I would say it's an all right setup still. We have an hour and 15 minutes left on the trading day. So is it could it pan out and show me a little bit better of a wick and holding those 30s? Let's just watch it for a little bit. How about that? So we are wicking, but honestly, I would say it looks like a short. You're reclaiming into that oversold area. It could catch a bid and reclaim out of that oversold. Might not get the positive today, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's the most ideal setup. But like I said, I just dipped into a little bit. We were just here the other day off of where was the gap? Here's the gap up. We were just buying this name a few days ago. So a little bit of an average up. It is what it is. We'll see how it pans out. So what else did I have that I wanted to share? Is there anyone that has any questions with anything that is watching? I see we got one person watching. Yeah, there's kind of just a indecision trading day of Monday. This Carl Icon Fund looks like it's gonna give up the ghost a little bit. We might just cut this and take the winning trade on it. Like I said, we had some outs up here. Can it hold this uptrend? We're about to trigger this alert, and we'll watch it a little bit better. So we'll come back if that triggers our alert. MMV, kind of rejecting that level a little bit. AI, holding that wick nicely. That's what I want to see on AI. CXAI. We said that we like the hour chart a little bit better, but a lot of selling pressure into some retracements here, and giving up the ghost a little bit. This one might be on watch for tomorrow. The NVAX still holding this uptrend. Stop is still holding effectively. The hour, we have a nice level at 785. You can see the increased green volume on the day. Is it going to be able to hold? I don't know. It's tough to say. But that's a little bit of what I'm watching right there. The other one we talked about a little bit was COSM. We talked about this on the live stream last week. Kind of took a positive break right here. We did have the increased volume. So yeah, we will see with this. I really just want to see a 380 break. So I'm probably going to hold this one into the close. Even though you have a little bit of a double top coming in right here. I think if this gets over 380 and to be safe, we'll say over top of this wick, we'll call it a 4 flat. If it can break over top of these, I think that you're going to see this potentially make a run for 5. That doesn't mean load the boat. But I do think the chart setup as it's continued to hold this 3 flat level, it's at 297. Pretty easy to mark that 3 flat level. I don't know. We'll see with this one. So other than that, just kind of sitting back, looking at some of the bigger names. We can go take a look at Tesla. Broke this downtrend, gapped up, held above it, never filled the gap. I would say you have a longer term downtrend that you're kind of getting ready to approach. So I'd say, this probably has some room to run up to like 240 maybe. And even further to the upside, you have a gap fill at 265. A lot of strength, a lot of good volume came in. Doesn't need to pull back down to this gap before we get any continued move. Maybe. I'm not a fan of the name. I think it's overvalued personally, but that doesn't mean that there isn't money to be made. And if I was looking at taking a swing trade, I think the day that we gapped over this, trying to find some sort of entry in these upper 90s would have been what I looked for, but it's just not my cup of tea. So I'll leave it at that. I know a lot of people like trading Tesla. Um, long term, I would be a lot more interested down here. Maybe respect these lows over here, but I think it's possible. I know a lot of people are probably calling me crazy when I say that. But I do think it's possible. I think if we switch over to a monthly chart and we just pull this downtrend a little bit further, is it out of the woods right now? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. Negative on strength for your monthly, even though it's caught a nice bid. You have some key levels that you're going to need to break through. And looking at a more long-term perspective, if I were to just mark this, does this have a catalyst to maybe trade down here at 70? I don't know. I need more information to be able to tell that. It does have a lot of increased volume right here. It's just uh, personal preference for the trader. I'm going to stay away from it. That's my personal opinion. That doesn't mean that there isn't money to be made. Looking at oil, we can go take a look at some oil. Oil is probably could be made for the same exact thing, where uh, probably has some sort of uptrend long term right there. Who knows? Maybe oil comes back down into like 50 flat. I don't know. But I like the oil setup. It's trying to build some sort of support here in these upper 60s. You get the gap up. We're trading right near that gap. I don't know. We'll see. It gave up that gap up gain awfully quick. 1 day of trading. Could very well hold some support here. It could give up the ghost. I don't know. I didn't do any buying on XLE simply because, it did leave that nice gap up. Last time it gapped up, it did the same exact thing. You get the gap up, retrace down to the gap, and then some. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. And IEP getting an alert right there. So let's go watch this live. That'll be the third red candle to the downside. Kind of giving up this initial uptrend. I think it's probably worth a trim. It sucks saying that I could have trimmed this for 40 cents higher before. But let's go respect that a little bit, and we'll take a little piece off. I don't see any size on the tape. Let's just take a piece off, and we'll hold a little bit of the position and just see how it goes. So, took some off there, and we will see. This FR, does it have a catalyst to hold some sort of uptrend right here? Maybe. Right around my initial entry. I would say that's a nice parallel channel. Let's go like that and see if there's anything that we can get further continuation to the upside. This AI doing what we wanted to. Actually could be a potential breakout price over 35. The Nasdaq has now turned red on the day, so keep that in mind. That Nasdaq has turned red. NVAX still trying to hold above this 80. We got 86 lows right here. I would really like to hold a piece of this into the close, but if it stops me out, it stops me out. And we'll reevaluate and move forward. Looking at Ford, I would say getting a negative break. Looking at the daily, Do have a gap up. We could think about a trim and reload. We could go over to forward and take a piece off. Has some size on the bid. Let's go ahead and take a piece off. It could come back to benefit us later on. So we're going to take a piece off forward. Take a look at PayPal. Getting a positive break on PayPal. I would want to see it trade back into some levels, if possible. Is there anything anybody wants me to take a look at? I'm open to, we got some alerts set out there. If anything triggers, we can always go back to it real quick. Yeah, this AI, I would say I'm probably gonna end up holding this AI into the close. If it gives me a gap down, it is what it is. We've got some good prints on it. But yeah, now is the time. If you guys got any tickers you want me to take a look at, I'm more than willing to take a look at anything. And yeah, this MMV. This is why I like putting alerts. If it would have showed me, hey, we have a little bit of strength here. Okay, maybe there's something worth taking a look at. But didn't get that. So yeah, we will keep looking around. I've kind of went over everything that I wanted to go over. Maybe GFAI. Talked about GFAI kind of giving up the ghost a little bit as well. We wanted an alert here around that 6. Maybe putting a stop in is worth it. Maybe. Just maybe. Oh yes, CNSP. Kind of gave up the ghost a little bit, but we're still holding this initial entry back. It would have been nice to get a 2 flat entry right there, but it just never happened. Holds the support very well. Looking at the daily, a little bit of an indecision candle. I am okay. I'm okay with indecision candles. That is not going to scare me away from holding this position. I told myself at the beginning of the day, if it holds 2, I'm okay holding it. So, yeah, we'll go from there. We did cut one position that we talked about quite some time ago this was the initial gap from the earnings. We liked the earnings. We took some trims on this position and we got officially stopped out of this position. I'll show you where we put the stop. I seen this kind of give up these lows. I got alerted and I said, okay, caught a bid. Let's put a stop underneath 61.50. Maybe it's a bad stop. I don't know. But gave up positive strength on our daily. Here's where you see that positive strength given up. And can we reload this position back in off the uptrend at the start of maybe 60 flat? Possible. So, yeah, it's kind of another one that's on watch. But got stopped out of the position, took a little bit of a loss. Hey, it happens. Yeah, other than that, just kind of watching some of the positions. We were worried about this 23 level as it approaches, maybe even up to 24 on the Carl Icahn fund. Maybe the CXAI as it's holding some of these levels. Maybe there's something worth it there. NVAX, still holding. So as long as it holds inside of this ascending kind of channel right there, I'm okay holding this. AI, Reclaim 35. Is this worth some sort of trim right here? We know the NASDAQ, reclaimed green. So that's good to see some buying come back in. Yeah, like I said, guys, there's nothing really else that I'm watching. Let's see, we got one person watching the stream. Other than that, yeah, the big names, I'm not really watching any of the big names. I feel last week was a lot of great entries on some names, and God forbid I go out there and give you guys a value name and it trades down. Well, if there is nothing that anybody wants to take a look at, I think that is going to call it for the stream on today. I appreciate anybody who tuned in, just kind of giving an update. We can go back and take a look at Intel real quick before we leave. And it is below that 30. So maybe that is a catalyst for further downside before this wants to go. And if this wants to take a turn of momentum, maybe even down back to these 27 levels. If it wants to start trading back in this downtrend, uh, it's possible that we see this name in the mid 20s again. So size accordingly, and to have your outs, have your outs to the downside and upside. Um, yeah, looking at the Nasdaq, we'll look at the Nasdaq again before we head out. I believe that there is some clear resistance that we are approaching. So this is what I got marked. I think this is all I really want marked. I could mark the tops up here. That's what I got marked right there, guys. If we start getting in these ranges and start rejecting some of these levels, I would keep that on watch and keep some of your positions on watch. As there could be some downside risk. Um, all in all, there is strength in the Nasdaq, so this doesn't mean we're trading at this level, cut everything. No, just respect it. That's all I'm going to be doing is respecting some of those levels. And if we do reject those levels, we'll see what happens from there. But other than that, that is going to call it for the live stream today. I appreciate you if you tuned in, and we will see you tomorrow. Maybe a couple live streams. We're going to start maybe live streaming a couple days, a couple times a day. So if you enjoyed the stream, drop a like, drop a subscribe. If not, more power to you. But we will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.